I'm live. Okay. All right. This is awesome. This worked today, guys. I feel like a huge victory. I changed my streaming service and it's actually working. I'm just so happy it's working. How's everybody doing? I can take, for those of you in the group, I can take your comments. I welcome your comments. I'm like a minute early, so I understand if you haven't seen this yet, but I'm just, this whole technology thing has been a challenge, but I think I've gotten through it and I'm very excited to be here. And we are going to get to the subject matter. I just want to make sure that everything is going through as it should be, because I am. Just a minute. Good morning, Danielle. Thank you for joining us. And I hope you can comment as I talk about this. So, just take a collective breath for a second. Today, we're going to talk about why being sick and tired of being sick and tired is really a great time for change. You can really take advantage of this time. And I tell this, I'm talking about this from my own experience and the experience of the people I work with. So my clients, 100% of the time, are sick and tired of being sick and tired. So they're ready for change. Okay. I myself only made changes in my life when I was really sick and tired of where I was. And perhaps you can relate. So, what are you sick and tired of? So, put it in the comments. Are you sick and tired of feeling a certain way? Are you sick and tired of a relationship or a series of relationships that aren't going well? Are you sick and tired of the way you interact with your kids? Are you sick and tired of whatever's going on in the world? Are you sick and tired of your job? Are you sick and tired of your friends acting a certain way? Whatever it is, you can be as vague as you want to be, but I would love to see what you're sick and tired of in the comments. We're going to talk about all that stuff. And I want to talk to you a little bit about my story of being sick and tired. I've had plenty of times in my life where I was sick and tired, but a lot of times I didn't make changes. And so it would kind of fade a little bit, and then I would go through the cycle again of being sick and tired. So let me tell you a big one for me. Many moons ago, all of them. Okay, that's great. Many moons ago, when my children were 4 and under, so I had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an infant, I decided to start my own business, and I was earnestly trying to call people on the phone and sell them some health and wellness products that I thoroughly believed in and I still believe in. But I was trying to do it with a script and I was trying to do it in a certain way, which worked for a lot of people. I was in a course. I was literally in marketing class at night on the phone while I was nursing my youngest. I often had a toddler on my knee when I was on the phone, trying to like close business for the toddler on your knee, which is, it's a difficulty level there. I did not have enough childcare. That was my own thing. I think I had this kind of pride that my mom had 6 kids and she didn't really have a lot of childcare, so I don't need much if I have 3 and I'm working from home. So lesson learned there. But as I was doing this, and along the way, people in my life had asked me, "Are you having fun with this? How is it going?" And I would just kind of put a brave face on and go, "Yeah, I'm having a great time." I was like good at pretending things were going well, but inside things were not going well. And one afternoon, I was in a business meeting where the other people in the meeting were kind of like me. We were calling people on the phone, and the guy who was kind of leading us said, "Hey guys, I don't want to be mean or anything, but if you don't start closing business, I'm going to have to take the leads away. Like, basically, you're not using them well enough, and I'm going to have to stop giving you stuff because it's not working." And I remember hearing those words, and my kids are running around the house, and I muted the phone, and I started to cry. I just started to cry because I knew that things were probably not going to get better in what I was doing, that I was not going to be closing business. And I felt all of this stuff in me come up, all of these like really deep, what I know now are core beliefs, but just like this deep stuff coming up. And what I was saying to myself were things like, I'm a failure. I don't know what I'm doing. I always quit things within 6 months. Here I go again. You know, I'm so stupid. Why did I think I could do this? It's just the same thing over and over again. I'm so sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of being a failure. And then, of course, I'm crying. My kids are running around and then they start crying. I don't know if they were crying because they saw me crying or it was just sort of the daily cry going on. But once I started seeing them cry, I felt even worse. Now it was a terrible mother, right? And a terrible wife. How am I going to do this whole thing, my whole plan, which was to save my family and retire my husband? If I can't close business, I'm a complete failure. So if this has ever happened to you, maybe not this exact scenario, but have you ever had a moment where you are sitting on the floor crying in some way and things are imploding and all of the ugh is coming up, the worst beliefs about yourself are coming up, just say, yep, I've been there, or on the floor, or yep, I've had that. It was not a pleasant thing. It sucked, frankly. It really, it was not fun. But I argue now, after going through what I went through, that it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I say that because I realized that it was only then, when I had hit bottom, when I had done all the things that I usually do and they didn't, okay, Daniel, it's the current situation. Okay, great. So you definitely listen in. In that moment when all of that stuff was coming up and I felt awful and I was crying and nothing's working out, was the only time I was actually really open to getting the help I needed, because I had tried everything else, right? I had tried working harder. I had tried doing things faster. I had tried going to more classes, getting out there more, and it wasn't working. And it wasn't a lack of effort. Let me tell you, it was not a lack of effort. So I had done all the things that I had been told were going to help me: work harder, work faster, put a lot of effort in, and you'll get what you want, right? It wasn't happening. But then when I was sitting on the floor and crying and, had a good cry, and we all had a good cry together, my kids and I, the 4 crying Garcias, I then started looking for something different, something that maybe could help me that I just didn't know about. I was open to that. And one of the things, I think it's Tony Robbins, said something like, people do not change until the anguish of where they are, the discomfort of where they are, is greater than the fear of doing something different or going into the unknown, right? So you have to have discomfort where you are before you're willing to take that risk and try something different and unknown. In general, maybe some people don't have to do that. I've noticed in my own life, it kind of has to be that way before, because otherwise our mind goes, no, we'll just do the same thing we usually do. We'll just get through it. All right. So I'm going to give you some steps about how to get there. Okay. So this is all good news, although it sucks in the time. So many times that have sucked for me, on the other side of that was freedom. And I thought, wow, thank God that sucky thing happened, because now I feel this freedom and I never would have felt it otherwise. All right. So you ready for some steps? Okay. The first is to get very specific with what are you sick and tired of? So write on a piece of paper what I'm sick and tired of. And it could be the world, it could be my relationships, it could be my job, it could be how I feel about myself, it could be my money situation, my health, my kids, all of that. I want you to just get it on a piece of paper and get specific and get petty. What I mean by petty is don't try to gloss over anything. Go for, yeah, and you know what? I really hate when this happens and this and this and this and this. You just want to throw it on a piece of paper. So just write these questions down. You don't necessarily have to do it right now because it's going to take you a little time. But you just want to release all the stuff that's bothering you, what emotions it brings up. And I want you to also write this question. What's really bothering me about this? What's really bothering me? I love that question. Someone had just posted, I was in another training, and someone said, if you want to get to the root cause, ask what's really bothering you. I love that question. Because when you think about it, it's not, necessarily someone, was in front of me cut in line in the cafe. What's really bothering me? Someone didn't see me. Someone thinks they could take advantage of me. Someone is rude and thoughtless. That's what you want to look at from your point of view. Okay? So write it all down. Write it all down. What are you sick and tired of? What's really bothering you? Get it all out. And it's really helpful to get it all out on a piece of paper because then it's not hanging out in your noggin and swirling around. You get to see it and become an observer of it. Okay? Okay, step 2. What's the pattern? What's the pattern? What are you repeatedly trusting in the wrong people? Are you repeatedly yelling at your kids? Is there a pattern of feeling doubtful? Is there a pattern of stopping yourself? Is there a pattern of rude people in your life or people betraying you or feeling abandoned? What's the pattern? Because once again, there's stuff that goes on in your life. But the pattern is if you break the pattern, that stuff doesn't happen as much or it doesn't bother you. And I only know that because I've seen it in my own life. When I notice that there's a pattern, it's time to break up the pattern. And as soon as I break up the pattern, if it happens, it doesn't bother me, or I can respond differently to it, or it just doesn't happen anymore. Okay, what's the pattern? And there may be several patterns, by the way, when you write all this down. It's okay. You can work with one at a time. Next question, ask yourself while you're writing this down. How does this feel familiar? How does this feel familiar? Now, on the surface, it may no one's ever been rude to me before. I don't know why this doesn't feel familiar. There aren't rude people out there. Okay, but what really bothers you about people who are being rude? Are they neglecting you or dismissing you or ignoring you or pretending you don't exist or hurting your feelings or thinking or not respecting you? Does that feel familiar? And then I want you to ask yourself, when was the first time you experienced that in your life? Really think about that. Go through the different times that you've experienced this in your life. We always feel like what's happening now is the reason that we're really upset. But so often it's really just because it's something that reminds us of things happened long ago. It's a repeat of our childhood. Not that people were constantly being rude to you in the cafe, that you are when you were a kid, but maybe you were ignored as a child or you felt ignored. That's the other part of this, is that people have different memories of their childhoods, and often parents have different recollections of childhood. They may be in a conversation with someone when you were a little kid, but the whole idea was you felt ignored. And that's what affected you. It wasn't that your parent was being a terrible person. They were distracted. You felt ignored. And so if someone is rude to you or cuts in line at a cafe, it feels like you're being ignored and it brings that up for you. Does that make sense? So you can have an amazing set of parents and an amazing family and still have stuff like that, because it's all about how you took things in and then what didn't get processed and what's still there. For instance, in my case, this whole incident when I was on the floor crying and feeling like a failure wasn't because my business was imploding. It was because business imploding triggered in me feelings of failure that I already had. And it was the only thing I could see through that lens. Business imploding equals I'm a failure. Now, for people who don't feel like a failure, business imploding could mean something completely different. Business imploding could be, it's not for me. Or, oh, now I have time to do more painting. Or I'll just go get a job. Or, oh, it's people abandoning me. Who knows what it's going to be? So it's really important for you to realize that whatever is happening now in your life, whatever pattern that is, being triggered. And that's why you're having the big reaction to it. A trauma, a repeated pattern in your life. It could be a single event, or it could be multiple events. And it doesn't excuse any of the behavior of the people around you. Like if someone's really terrible to you, it doesn't excuse them from that. But your response and your interpretation and how you feel about yourself and what you're going to do is all based on these patterns, mostly of childhood. So just let me know if this makes sense to you in the comments. Yes, no, I have a question. Let me know. Okay, so you know what makes you sick and tired. You know that's a pattern. You know that you're kind of like, yeah, this is from my childhood, or that something happened. This makes sense. Okay, so now what do you do? So there are plenty of things you can do. But just for now, I would say, what is a new step you could take today to help this? In other words, instead of just doing the same old that puts you in a circle, what would be a step you could take that could help you? And you can do that very simply, and this is a practice I do often, is I just close my eyes and I put my hand on my heart and ask, what's the best next step for me? And give yourself some time to do that. Just getting quiet and not just impulsively doing something, but just centering yourself, sitting down, closing your eyes, putting your hand on your heart and asking that question and see what comes. And it could be, geez, this brought up a lot for me. I really need some help with this. So you may need a coach or a therapist. Or what's the next best step? I think I need a massage. Or I need to have a conversation to sort this all out with a good, trusted friend. Or I need to do some research. Or I need a tool. You know, one of the tools, it may be a tool you already have that can help you with this. Something that I use are subconscious reprogramming tools, which are amazing at helping you break the connection between whatever's going on and your usual reaction because of trauma or trigger or whatever. And that is a game changer. And it can go all the way back to when you first had it in you. So maybe it's some subconscious work, whether you're doing that with a person who does that for a living, or you have a tool that you use. Great time to do that. And then follow the breadcrumbs and trust the process. Once you kind of know that this stuff it's not random, and that the lens through which you're looking at your reality shapes your reality, when you realize it's the lens and not necessarily what's just going on, not excusing anyone else's behavior, but our interpretation, our response, our recovery time, our energy is all deeply affected by our lens. Once you start working on that lens, life changes. Okay. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions while you're listening to this, please put them in the comments section. If you want to learn more about this, reach out to me through my website, or if you're in the Calm Mom Alliance, just message me and I can talk to you about this kind of stuff. It's very easy to do. If you're not in Calm Mom Alliance, I would ask you, why not? If you're on Facebook at all, join our group, the Calm Mom Alliance. Every day we're doing something exciting. Every day there's new tips and hacks and information. I do lives like this every week. We have events every week that can help you de-stress and regulate your nervous system so that you respond to your life in a different way. It helps you change the lens. That's what we're talking about here. So look, this is what I want to say. Being a professional mom can be really hard. I know, because I am a professional mom. It can suck sometimes, like when you're sitting on the ground crying because your business is imploding. But it also would be one of the best adventures of your life. And life gets way better when you befriend yourself, when you believe in yourself, when you change that lens and you have a supportive community, and even more when you can laugh at what usually drives you crazy, which is part of changing that lens, because you're worth it. So here's to you. So I'll see you next week. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments below or reach out to me, and I'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.